Hi there. Please don't forget that you still have an essay from last week that you need to upload onto the new E3 platform. Today I'm going to introduce you to academic citations. Why is this important? Actually, to tell you the truth, I think it's probably one of the most important skills you can learn as a student in college. Citation means that you reference the work that you have found elsewhere in your personal essay or whatever the case may be. So for example, suppose I'm busy writing a paper on something like the economic development of Taiwan. And I go and look for some resources, like I'll go onto Wikipedia. Actually, it would be better if you don't go onto Wikipedia. Well, you're free to use Wikipedia. Don't cite it as a source. Rather go and look at the references that they mention, and then you can work from that. If you cite Wikipedia as a source, it doesn't look particularly professional. What I want you to do is learn how to cite sources. And there's a couple of terms we use. You'll hear the word like, and I'll write this down for you, citations, quotations, references. All of these essentially mean the same thing, right? What it's saying is, here I've used somebody else's idea and I'm acknowledging that I used their idea. What you want to avoid is something called plagiarism. Plagiarism. It's when you take somebody's idea, you don't say that you've taken their idea and you pretend like it's your own. Another word for that is stealing. It's about the worst thing you can possibly do in college, and it is a common phenomenon. In fact, I got to tell you, I have this secret machine. So whenever I read any one of your essays, I have this secret machine that tells me the moment you've copied somebody else's idea. And I will be able to catch you 100% of the time. That secret machine is nothing other than Google. When I read something from a student and I have a sense that a freshman or a sophomore or a second year student could never have written that, I'll basically highlight their text, put it into Google, and I'll see if a hit arises that shows me, aha, they copied it from there. So guys, please don't copy. Now, I've also had the unfortunate realization that while I've been talking to you, you haven't seen me, which is now rectified. Well, you were listening to my voice. That's okay. I'm back. If you copy, you're going to get caught, and it's an embarrassment, right? It's basically the gravest sin you can commit in academia. It's worse than failing an exam. Because when you use somebody else's idea, what you've essentially said is, I don't respect the person who came up with this idea, and I don't respect the reader of my paper. I'm going to lie to them, right? Sometimes we lie, and it can be necessary in certain situations, like to save your life. Apart from that, when it comes to academia, when it comes to your writing, better not to lie. So today's lesson is involved around showing you how you can make or avoid the mistake of lying in a paper by not crediting your sources, okay? So you see the words up there, citations, quotations, references, and plagiarism. There are a couple of tools that I wish I had been taught when I was in college. I had to kind of figure this out for myself. And as I use Word, not Pages, you might find that if you're a MacBook user, well, actually, even if you're a MacBook user, you have access to Microsoft Office, so this isn't an issue. I'm going to show you a few things you can do. First of all, let's give you an example. Suppose I write something like this. Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. That's what I have to say, and that's all I want to say. Some of you might recognize, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. You might recognize this quote. It's not my quote. This is Kennedy's quote. So really, I should cite him. I should say to my reader, look, this isn't my idea. This is somebody else's idea. There are a couple of ways you can do that. The first thing I could do is, well, I could reference Kennedy. I could say, Kennedy said, comma, open quote, close quote. Let's remove that A over there. So you can see here I've referenced Kennedy. I've said, Kennedy said, comma, open quote. This is called an open quote, all right? And that's called a close quote. Why? Because this is the opening, the first quote, and this is the closing quote, all right? Kennedy said, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. These are his words. I've quoted his words, and I've said that Kennedy said it, right? Or I could do something like this. I could say, suppose now I want to use Kennedy's words, but I don't want to say Kennedy said, right? So what am I going to do? Well, when it comes to citations, there are different ways, there are different systems that we use. For example, in the arts and humanities, we use something called MLA, right? So the MLA system is a system that people who are writing academic articles employ to standardize how they reference different things. So for example, there I was referencing a quote from Kennedy, but I could also be referencing a movie, or I could be referencing an article, a book, a news report, a newspaper reading, anything like that. There are all these different sources that I could be using. I need to have a standardized system. So the standardized system that we use is something called MLA. And in fact, if you go into Word and you see over here, if you click on references, you can see over here it says insert citation. And then there's style. If I click on style, at the moment it's got APA. But I could go down, look, there's Chicago, there's this, there's GOST, there's Harvard Anglia. But right down here is MLA. So if I use the MLA system, then it will organize my references according to the MLA standard or MLA system. Okay, so MLA is very common. APA, often used for psychology and the social studies, and there are hundreds of different references systems. In a moment, I'm going to show you a really useful piece of software, apart from what's in Word itself. Okay, so let's get back. How could I reference this particular quote? Well, another way to do it would be to do something like this. I could put a bracket over here. I could say Kennedy, and over here I could say something like speech. Okay. Close bracket and punctuation point. So let me remove the punctuation. Take note, I'm removing the punctuation point over there for MLA. Don't worry too much about this now, but I have to remove it there, put it at the end. So now the reader will know, aha, this is Kennedy. And this quote comes from a particular speech he gave. Okay, so that's how you would do it. But now this is what we call in-text citation. What does that mean? Well, this is my text. This is what I've been writing. And it's an in-text quote, or it's an in-text citation, or it's an in-text reference, right? It's happened within my writing itself. Now, at the end of the paper that I've written, I'll have something called, here is my work cited. Underneath this work cited, I would have the full details of Kennedy. Here I have Kennedy, I have speech. But over here, I would put out all the details. Now, to make this easier, I'm actually going to show you how I would do this in a paper that I've written previously. This is a paper for an academic journal, right? And this is on Tantra and the Rig Veda. Let us take a look at some of my citations. I begin my paper with metaphysical and naturalist explanations of ultimate causality have produced variations of idealism and atomism in the 23 centuries since. Here's an example of an in-text citation. Justin Price states, its romantic iteration, open quote, survived the ascendancy of analytic philosophy in the early 20th century, close quote, and that, open quote, pantheism, hyloism, Spinozism, animism, panpsychism, and vital materialism, close quote, are essentially idealist because they do not distinguish between mind and objects. Here you can see, because I mentioned the author's name, Justin Price, I'm only including the page number where these quotes came from. Okay, so you can see that I have the author's name over there, so I don't need to put it in here. This is according to the MLA system. But as I said to you, this is an in-text citation. Now, my reader might want to know more information, like where was this published? Was this, what year, which article, which journal, etc. So we're going to scroll down through my 10,000 plus words of writing, and we're going to go down to the works cited list over here. It is alphabetical. In some cases, it might be going sequentially by year, but MLA uses alphabetical system. So if you scroll down, you will see price dash, comma, Justin, right? Author's name first, then his first name. And then we see the article or the book chapter. Here it's a book chapter, Vexed Meditation, Romantic Idealism in Coleridge and Its Afterlife in Bataille and Irigaray. Close quote. Well, and then you can see this is the name of the book, Romantic Legacies, Transnational and Transdisciplinary Context. You've got the editor, Corrigan, Shun Liao Chao, and etc. So what do we see here? Look, here, because I'm familiar with MLA, I immediately recognize, okay, this is the name of a book chapter. Then I recognize that this is the name of the book. The book is in italics. You would have to go and understand how these systems work. You would have to go and do a search for MLA online, and you can find it pretty easily. If we go over here and we type in MLA into Google, immediately you get MLA formatting and style guide. We can click on that. And here we have some guidelines. You've got in-text citations, the basics, quotations, endnotes, and footnotes. So for example, if we go to MLA in-text citations, the basics, we can see here are general guidelines, in-text citation, author, page, style. You see what I was talking about, author first, then the page number. So here we have Wordsworth stated that romantic poetry was marked by a, open quote, spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings, close quote. So that's the author. There's the page number. Or here we have the quote directly without the author's name. And then we have open bracket, Wordsworth, and the page number 263. Right? So this is pretty straightforward. And what would you see in the actual works cited page? You would see Wordsworth, comma, William. You would see the name of the book, Lyrical Ballads, and we would see Oxford University Press, comma, 1967. Okay, so you can use this as a search for how to use MLA. I'm not saying you have to use MLA, and in a moment I'm going to show you a trick to save you a lot of pain. So we have a general idea about how to cite. Now, what can you do to make your life easier? There's this wonderful piece of software called EndNote. If you take a look at it over here. If I click on EndNote, you will see that it allows me to insert citations and also to go to EndNote. So I'd like to show you what it looks like when it's not inserted into Word itself as an independent standalone program. Most universities offer this software to their students. I believe our university does as well. And almost all the universities I've been to in the past do offer this or something like it. So let me show you how this works. First of all, by opening up EndNote itself. The EndNote interface looks like this. I know this looks very scary or daunting, but I'll give you an idea of how this works. Inside here, what you are seeing is my library. Let me just change this picture down to the bottom. That'll be better. What you are seeing inside here is my library. These are all the authors and books and articles and movies that I have ever cited, and I've built this up over time. You can see I have 2,525 references. So what does this mean? Well, if I click on any one of these articles, like let's click on this, say, Michael Witzel over here, and I'll click on preview. Make this a bit bigger for you. What you can see over here is the information for this particular author's article. How do I get this in here? Well, it's pretty straightforward. you can go to references over here, and I believe you can also get this with the Chinese interface, and you can say new reference. So if I click on new reference over here, let's make an author like Zeus, comma, hero, put in the year 1922, title a silly example. Oh, and take a note, sorry, just a quick interlude over here, brief interruption. Here it says reference type journal article. If this was a journal article, that's what I would do. But if it was a book, you see I can choose from this list. You've got like book section. So book, obviously, if it's a book. If it's a book section, so for example, many authors contributed articles to one book, which often happens in academia, then what you would do is you would say book section, okay? There's also edited book, there's electronic article, electronic book, or electronic book section. So if it was a physical book, then use book section. If it was electronic, use electronic book section. This will make your life easier. You've got encyclopedia, you've got film or broadcast, whatever the case may be, blog. But for today, I'm just going to choose book. So I've got year, author, title, and let's say the publisher was me. And let's say it was the first edition. Okay, so now what I've done over here is I've created this, and all I now need to do is shut it down over here. I can click on this X, or I can click on reference or file, reference, and I should say save reference. Why don't I see that? Is it edit or is it file? Ah, there you go. Sorry, file. Click save. Now it's saved the reference, so I can safely hit the X over here and shut it down. What do you see? Now you see the author listed over here, Zeus, hero, a silly example. Why is this convenient? Well, simply put, in future when I'm writing more articles and I might use the same author, I don't need to rewrite all the details. So imagine, and by the way, you can organize very easily by clicking on author, and what that will do is it'll organize it by alphabetically. Those that don't have a name, you'll see it's by date, but then you start with A and it scrolls all the way down, right? B, C, etc. You could organize by year, click on year, and you can see we can go all the way down to 1800s or whatever the case may be, 1641, and it goes onwards like that. Or by title, typically I do by author. And what makes this also incredibly convenient is when I'm searching for something, like I just need to remember part of the author's name, part of the title, like I could type in the word being over here. Obviously, what you want to select here is not author, but title, because I think this is, a title. So I select title and I type in the word being and I hit enter. And anything that has the word being in it, let me try and maximize this for you. There you go, being, right? And being will appear. So it becomes really easy to find the particular reference you're looking for. More importantly, let's get back to my paper. So let's say I said something like, the world is a messed up place. Our only solution, open quote, is to never give up, full stop, close quote. Let's pretend that was some world famous citation. Now, I happen to be using EndNote, so I can go over here to EndNote, right? And I can choose Insert Citation. When I click Insert Citation, this pane appears. Now, over here I can do a word search for anything. Let's say it was that citation that I just made, it was Zeus. So I just do a search for Zeus, and there we go. We've got it, Zeus 1922. What do? I click Insert over here, and EndNote and Word very kindly inserted for me over there. Now I can do one more step. I want a page number. It's a pretend page number. You can right click and you can say edit citation. Sorry, let me just move that up. You right click, you say edit citation, and we can choose to, well, we choose more. And over here, you can choose page number. And I put in page 56. I say, okay. And now it's put the page number in for me. Okay, you might be looking at this saying, well, that still seems like trouble. Actually, it's not. Imagine if you're dealing with thousands of references, and you have to keep putting in this information. Not here, although you do have to do it in text, but also in your works cited list. But if we scroll down, look what's happened. EndNote has automatically put in this reference for me. All the details are there. I didn't need to type it in. It's formatted it the way I want. It's got the author's name, the hero, a silly example, first edition, me being the publishing house, 1922, and print. It's done it according to the MLA system automatically. But there's another wonderful thing. Suppose my professor says, listen, I don't want MLA, I want APA. Instead of you having to go and retype everything, all you need to do is click under the EndNote, Styles. Instead of MLA, choose APA. And what will happen? You can see it's changed it automatically for you, right? A silly example, you can see the information is different. Let me do that switch again. Look at this. Now watch when I change to MLA. And let's choose MLA 8th. There. Did you see the switch? Or we could choose something else like Chicago. And let's choose let's choose Chicago author date. And you can see another change is made. That's all done automatically. You can imagine that if you've got 50 or 60 or 100 citations, how much time this will save. So I thoroughly encourage you to download EndNote, install it. It will automatically install into Word, and this pane will appear over here. And then you'll be able to work from there. Now, you can also do other things. So for example, let's say I go to here, and let us say that I said something like, Seuss said, the world is a messed up place, and Seuss said, we should never give up. Okay. Well, if you use MLA, you'll know that if I have the author's name Seuss over here, I don't need it in the parenthetical in the brackets. What can you do? Easy. Right click it, choose edit citation, and here you have default format. So the default format is what it will default to, the thing it will always do if you don't tell it to do something else. But here you've got display as author or year, or you've got display exclude author. That's exactly what I want to do. I want to exclude the author because it's already in the sentence. So hit exclude author. And you can see it took out the author's name, put it in the right format, but don't worry, it's still exactly how it should be over there. That will really save you time going down the line. Especially as you can imagine, take a look at my paper over here. Look at all these citations, these works cited. There's about 50 or 60 of them. This really, I find it to be an incredibly advantageous tool when you're doing this sort of work. So I encourage you, get used to using EndNote. Even if you don't use EndNote, you definitely need to become familiar with how you cite things. There are also other ways you can do it. In some citation systems, they want you to use a footnote. So for example, let's just say I delete this. And I go into Word, I go into references, and I choose, I've clicked references over here, I hope you can see. And I choose to insert footnote. What a footnote does is it puts something at the foot of the page, at the bottom of the page. So I'll go insert footnote. Then do you see how it's automatically put in this little superscript 1? And if we look below, there's a 1 over here, and I'll just say Kennedy. Okay. And 18 or 1967, whatever the case may be. I don't know when. Okay. So now I've given it a footnote. That's another way you can do it. These are how you, this system is how you ensure that you're not plagiarizing, that you're not stealing anything from anybody. I encourage you, start learning how to do this. Once you understand this, it's going to make your life much easier, particularly when you have to start writing more academic papers for your classes. This is a really invaluable skill. Can't emphasize it enough. Please go ahead, learn how to do it. What else can I mention? Actually, I think for the most part, that pretty much covers everything. I'll do a quick overview once more. EndNote. You've got your insert citation over here. You've got edit and manage citations. You've got all these different things you can do. You can also go over here, inside here, and I believe if we go to insert citation, we click on that arrow, you've got insert citations, insert selected citations, but you can also create a new citation as I showed you using the go to EndNote. But I think if under references, no, I'm sorry. We must stick within EndNote if we want to do this. You must say go to EndNote. As you can see, it's appeared over here. Reference, new reference, etc. One more valuable thing. If you don't want to spend a whole lot of time typing in the information, EndNote, because it's connected to the web, has a way to automatically help you find citations. So for example, one of the places I often go to is the Library of Congress. If you look under My Library, right, and you look all references, here you see everything I have. Okay, so this is all references, My Library. But you can see there is this option under online search to go to, and there's more, by the way. If you click on more, there's so many. I mean, look at all of this, right? Hundreds and hundreds. Forget about that. I like to go to the Library of Congress. That's the US Library of Congress. And over here, suppose I know the name of the book. It's called Being and Time. I also know the name of the author, Heidegger. But let's say I've got the name of the book. I don't want to spend all my time typing it in. So that's the title. And then what I do is once I've done this sorry, I've spelled that wrong. Being and Time. I hit enter. And you can see that the Library of Congress has now found 1 through 107 results. Okay, I don't really want 107 results, but let's just hit OK. And it begins to populate this frame with anything with anything connected with being and time. And you can see there's different authors over there, right? There's Andrew, there's Insol, Finney, etc. I would like to wait for Heidegger. So I could have typed in Heidegger's Being and Time, but the great thing about this now is that all of these that you see over here, when I highlight them, and you can see it's going down alphabetically, right? It's taking a little bit of time. But let's just say I wanted this one, Davis Brett W. I click on that. There I can see the reference. And this reference is now available for me in my all references. So if I go to this one and I go to all references, I should be, I don't know why there's that weird little glitch happening over there. Sorry, let's go back to that, see if it will resolve that problem. Who knows why it's doing that. This is the nature of the beast when we're dealing with software. But let's just type in Davis. I know you can't see it, I'm sorry. I don't know why that's happening. No matching references found, fine. That means when I searched in the Library of Congress, perhaps I needed to save that in. Although I seem to remember it being automatic. Let me see. Let me say, so you could also right click it and say add references to somewhere else or copy reference to, and we could go choose library. But I do seem to remember it actually integrating. Maybe if we go here and I double click, let me say if I double click Davis. Okay, there it's appeared. Now you can see it's saved it directly into my references library. I think there's an easier way to do this, but let's just close that down. And now under all references, if we type, yeah, you can see it's already there. Heidegger on the will, right? So yeah, double click it, it'll open that pane, and then it comes in over here. Right. Okay, so that's one way to save yourself pain. There are a few more things you can do, which I will demonstrate in a moment. If we go to a website like your school library, but you can also go to websites like Gestor. And if you go into Gestor, Gestor is a database that allows me to search for various articles. So let's just do a search for interesting, as how that's what I research. And here you have some articles. Now, what can I do? It has the very convenient feature, which is cite this item. So I don't need to go and type in all this information. I just do a search for something I found. I say cite this item. You can see it says copy citation MLA. That's great. If you want to do that, you can. It's got APA Chicago. But here, under export citation, I'm using EndNote. So you can see export a RIS file for EndNote, ProCite, etc. Let's just click export a RIS file. You can see it opens over here. Well, it's been saved. I'm going to click on it. And when I click on that, you will see that EndNote automatically pulls it in. It's automatically pulled in. I highlighted. There you go. Bhakti and religion. And it's brought into my EndNote. I didn't have to do anything. What a time saver. You can thank me later by using this system. I think that's all for today. You don't have any homework, except that you should maybe go and download EndNote and try and learn how to use it. If you have any questions, feel free to drop me a line. Don't forget to upload that essay, that first essay that you need. It should be simply uploaded as either a text or a Word document. I don't mind. You can see it in the new E3 platform. I'll see you all next week. Take care.